This presentation, 10 out of 10. Great presentation. But how's the juice inside? Find out next. What's going on, YouTube fragrance family? Welcome to another Robes 08 fragrance review. Today I'm putting my nose on the house of Penhaligons, my very first fragrance review on my channel on the house of Penhaligons. Yes, I've been on YouTube for almost 9 years now, and I've never done a full-fledged review on a Penhaligons fragrance. Why? Because I only own 2 bottles from the brand. So it's a brand that I haven't really delved into too much, as you can tell. So my very first Penhaligons fragrance review, and it's a doozy. It's a fragrance that I fell in love with the bottle presentation right away. I'm not gonna lie, the bottle presentation sold me. This is from the Portrait series, and this Portrait series, Penhaligons and me, I really never really, I delved into them early in my YouTube fragrance career and then kind of forgot about them. Once they introduced this Portrait series, I'm not gonna lie, it piqued my interest in the brand, and now I'm testing out more of their fragrances. So thanks to this Portrait series, Penhaligons, thank you. You piqued my interest in your brand again. This one right here called The Tragedy of Lord George. And let's see if the juice inside matches this beautiful, beautiful bottle. The Tragedy of Lord George hit the shelves back in 2016. Bottle size is what you see here is what you're going to get, 2.5 ounce. Concentration is eau de parfum. It is part of the Portrait series, so there is, they continue to release new Portrait series fragrances. Very interesting series from the house of Penhaligons. Pricing right now, online retail, you're looking at approximately $240 for this fragrance. So not cheap, especially against the usual regular Penhaligons lineup. Before I get into the steak and potatoes of the fragrance review, I want to thank my partner FragranceX.com for this fragrance. You can find The Tragedy of Lord George and quite a few of the Portrait series on FragranceX.com. You can utilize my code ROBES08 and get a beautiful discount of 15% off on the fragrance. So go check out FragranceX.com. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. Nose behind this fragrance, Alberto Moreales. Alberto, of course, an all-star perfumier. I'm not going to name all the fragrances he has done. I own at least a dozen of them. Huge, huge resume. So Alberto, we all know what he can bring to the game. Now let's get into the note breakdown of this one. A very simple, straightforward note breakdown. It only had 3 notes listed, I think, and I added one. So up top, we got a boozy brandy. In the mid, we got a shaving soap accord. I'm going to call it an accord. Base, we got tonka bean, and something that's not listed as ambrox, but it's definitely in here. Major notes to this nose right here. We got the tonka bean, of course. It is going to be a huge base of this. The ambrox, of course, and the shaving soap. So you can tell that the brandy is very much short-lived, and I'm going to get into that, of course, once we get into sniffing this one. Group, woody, spicy fragrance. And how many sprays and where? Well, with this one, I noticed I tried to do a little more sprays, and I tried to do my usual 3, and I felt like 5 sprays is best with this one. It's not going to give you any more or any less. So I do my 1 on the chest, 2 on the neck. So when I do 2 on the neck, it's always both sides of the neck here on the arm. So I'm wearing this type of shirt here, so I'll put it right in the middle here, and I'm set. So 5 sprays for Penhaligons, The Tragedy of Lord George. Now let's get into the opening. What does this sucker smell like? Come on, put it on my skin here. Let's see. So let's put it on my hand here to remind me of this introduction. The introduction of Tragedy of Lord George, very unique, very well composed. I really like the blend in this one. This introduction gives you like a, it really reminds me of a spring type fragrance. It has that, you know, that shaving soap accord that it's saying. Yeah, it's got like a lavender. It has that classic English feel to the fragrance, but then it also has modern notes here. So I mean, it really brings the old school fragrances and some really classic Penhaligon fragrances. I really feel that, but also has the new school. And it really is one of the rare fragrances that it does that. There's not too many fragrances. When fragrances go barbershop, they go barbershop. They go straight up barbershop. Sometimes they go herbal, and you're thinking more springtime. This has a darker edge to it, and I love that. And I haven't really experienced that in a lot of fragrances that has a barbershop appeal, but it has some darkness behind it. But it's also fitted for spring too, but it has a little bit of that darkness that the little spring cooler days would work well. So now going back, I'm trailing off, going back to what it smells like in the introduction. So it hits you with that brandy note. That brandy note is very much short-lived. And you're going to tell a lot of fragrance reviews online call it not only a brandy note, but a rum note or any other type of booze. It really is a transparent booziness. It almost is the idea of booze to me. It also has, of course, it's not hard to miss, that barbershop shaving soap is coming through, and it is going to be one of your central themes in this fragrance. But it has also a modern tonka bean and amber, some woods here backing it. I like how this one gives the user the Penhaligon's barbershop signature classic English appeal with an air of modern notes. I really like that. Now let's start dissecting this. Now let's start with the brandy because that's where it starts. It's very short-lived. Like I said, very transparent to me. It's not too thick, and it's really not that boozy. It's more of the idea of brandy. It shows like a darkness. It shows maybe some spicy aspects or a feel that there is some booziness in this fragrance. This is definitely backboned by a lavender note. It's not listed in the note breakdown, but it has that cleanness that lavender brings to the game. It also has, of course, a barbershop soapy, almost powdery feel to the fragrance. Very clean, but don't get me wrong. When I'm talking clean, you guys are thinking, oh, Prada, you know, soapy and things like that. No, it has that air of darkness, like I was trying to say. It's clean, it's very masculine, and old school, that what you come to expect from the brand. So it really is a nice mishmash of it really played tricks on my nose. I'm like, ooh, I've never really experienced this, and that's why I really like this fragrance. It gets a lot of negative reviews online, by the way, just because of price point. I'm going to get to that. So let's get into the ambrox. You do get a good amount of ambrox in this fragrance. It starts pushing already in the introduction, gives the scent some powdery feel to the fragrance, but also gets some sweetness from the tonka. It's very rare to see a clean barbershop scents being paired with brandy, booze, tonka, and darker notes, woods, and things like that. I love the give and take of both genres, trying to win the user's attention, and that's the one thing that kept me entertained with the Tragedy of Lord George is it's very unique as it pulls different waves. With the darker notes and of course that barbershop cleanness. Now more into the dry down of this fragrance, this is where of course that barbershop appeal kind of comes up tenfold. It takes over the scent, but the darker notes kind of remain in the backbone, mostly the tonka, some peppery woods here. The one thing I noticed with of course the Tragedy of Lord George is that it has a very good balance. And even though sometimes it felt screechy as far as where this fragrance is going, I felt it had a very good blend. I felt like once I got this fragrance, I got it. And it felt like, I was like, wow, this is actually very unique and well blended to give the user, it keeps me entertained. The dry down is mostly hit with the ambrox, which is pretty popular these days and can make a scent like this kind of smell cheap, you know. The most popular one right now that I can think of that utilizes, of course, ambrox is, of course, Sauvage. So when people smell that and smell it in a fragrance that's $300 a bottle, they're like, this smells cheap. So that's the one thing that I could say. I can definitely get a little bit of that powdery aspect with a little bit of hint of woods. The tonka itself is solid in my opinion. I felt it's not the best tonka bean note in the game. It really isn't. There is much better, but it was put into this fragrance all the way through. I felt the tonka all the way through and I really enjoyed it throughout the scent. Overall, very much a solid scent from a classic house. When I think about this fragrance, and there's a few times that I was wearing this that I felt like, who would wear this? Very much a strong leader. You can say a president or something like that. That's maybe starts his day with 5 o'clock shadow, goes and shaves it, of course, because of the shaving soap and the barbershop appeal to this fragrance, but also goes to his or her wooden desk, the big desk, and then all of a sudden there's a big decision that has to be made on point. And that strong leader asked for a strong drink to make that huge decision. This is the type of fragrance that I'm thinking of when a leader would make that decision. That's my idea of this fragrance. Also on the other end of the coin, just because of the bottle, could also be a hunter wearing this. Recommended age, this one is a little more mature. When you go into more of the barbershop appeal, and when I'm talking about classic notes, and the House of Penhaligons is not really for the younger crowd, depending on your taste, of course. Age is, it doesn't really matter, but I would go 25 and up with this. This has more of a mature feel to the fragrance. Best time to wear this fragrance, definitely nighttime. Date, I can wear this on a date. Signature scent, yeah. This is something that I would wear on cooler nights. Spring, summer comes into mind. I wore this around that time because I bought it around that time and I had to wear it somehow to test it. It really didn't do well in the high heat, to be quite honest. But summer nights, it did very, those cooler summer nights, this was perfect. Seasons, mostly fall. This is a fall fragrance. Spring night. I'm gonna wear the crap out of this just because of that barbershop appeal, but it has some darker things to it. So that spring night works very well. Summer nights works very well. And even winter, I'm wearing it this winter and it's doing its thing. Development, linear, average, or complex, very much average, on the higher end of average. It's almost complex. Work appropriate, yeah, depending. It can be, somebody can wear this as a signature scent depending on you. Signature scent worthy, I could see this for the right person, depending on who you are. Just has that, it's not very daring. Barbershop fragrances are clean, masculine, things like that. You can wear this as your signature scent. So let's get into my rating system. Let's take a look at projection and longevity, and this is where it gets a little lower score. So this type of fragrance, you're expecting some oomph to it, especially with the darker notes, but with Penhaligon fragrances, they really don't hit, for me personally, they don't hit 10 plus hours. This is one of those things. Projection, they're a little above average, and this is what this gets. 6 bottles out of 10, a little above average as far as projection. Longevity, same thing, 6 bottles out of 10, 5 to 7 hours on this one. It really barely will last you a work day. Again, it's more of a nighttime scent, so 5 to 7 hours works well for me. Compliment factor, surprising. Just because of the use of ambrox, tonka bean, you would think, especially even lavender, barbershop, and things like that, maybe it's not working for me, but I got a 4 bottles out of 10. It's not as good as I thought it was going to do, to be honest. So 4 bottles out of 10. Uniqueness, 7 bottles out of 10. It has some unique parts, even though it utilizes very much ambrox, tonka. These are fragrance notes that are utilized almost, these are very popular fragrance notes at the moment. However, it's just the whole composition is unique, so I kind of bumped it up just because of that. Pricing versus what you get. This is the #1 gripe on this fragrance is price. A lot of people like this fragrance, but they look at the price and they go, no freaking way. So I'm going to give it 3 bottles out of 10 just because you get this beautiful, beautiful bottle. A lot of people won't pay for the bottle. So 3 bottles out of 10, fairly poor. I think it's a solid release from Penhaligon's, and you're going to see that in my buy, try, or pass. But let's move on to versatility. This is one of its high scores. It's one of those fragrances that I can see this as its strong suit. 8 bottles out of 10. It just has that air of barbershop appeal, very easy to wear, but also has some darker notes that really makes it even more easier to wear. You can wear it almost during the cooler months. You know, these barbershop scents sometimes, and the cooler months, they don't work very well. This one has a little bit of oomph to it. Smell, 9 bottles out of 10. I really like this composition, I really do. And the more I wear it, the more I'm enjoying this. So this is one of those that took me some time to really like. Overall score, this gets a 9 bottles out of 10. And maybe you're like, whoa, you're crazy. I think it's a very strong release from the House of Penhaligons. This bottle right here, this presentation right here is the reason why I'm going back to the House of Penhaligon and trying out all their fragrances, and it may be the reason of future purchases from the house. I really felt not only is the bottle great, bottle gets 10 out of 10, but the juice itself is very good. I love the blend. I love how interesting it takes that old school and new school, blends it together, and makes an actually solid set. It does have its drawbacks. Any set has drawbacks, longevity, projection, things like that. So these are things that it all depends on you. What do you like in fragrances? And that goes to a buy, try, or pass. Even though it's got the high 9, I'm gonna put it as a try. A lot of people don't like it because of price. It is what it is. For $300 or more, can I find better fragrances that would suit my taste? Yes, 100%. 100%. However, I really think it's a very strong release from the House of Penhaligons, and it's well deserved for a try. Overall, the tragedy of Lord George is a very solid scent, and that has been the theme of this whole fragrance review. It has this huge ghost behind it. And we're not talking about me right now behind this bottle. It's the price. The price is what's hurting this fragrance as far as reviews go. Many reviews online talk about price versus scent. And sometimes we just got to put that out of our mind and just look at what the fragrance is. Again, as a consumer, price is huge. I know. It's rare for me to really enjoy a Penhaligon scent. Hell, this is one of 2 bottles that I own. The only other bottle I own from the brand is Sartorial. Great scent also. It has a strong, it utilizes the strong Penhaligon's classic English roots, barbershop, classic tone to the fragrance, but it also has some modern take to it, and that's what I like about this fragrance. It really changes the game. I'm not a fan of heavy ambrox scents like Sauvage by Dior. Poof, that one's bad. But this one has more to offer, in my opinion, a lot more to offer. A very solid release from the House of Penhaligons. Hopefully you liked my review on the tragedy of Lord George. Not too many reviews on these portrait series, just because, of course, pricing. Hey, if you think that any of these portrait series are worth checking out, especially the ones that are on Fragrance X, you let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think I should buy next. There'll be a blind buy, but let me know. And of course, in the comments below, if you have owned this, smelt it, things like that, good and bad. I love hearing the bad too. You know, even though it's a very positive fragrance review, you guys put in your good and bad. I love people giving out their feedback on particular fragrances. And as always, a great or poor fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your scent wisely. Thanks for watching.